speaking to you, Emily. You're a bit of a HR guru, hence the name. How's it been for you at the moment? Lots happening in the world of HR and supporting employers?
Yes, there is. It's pretty full on, actually. We've been really busy. We're really busy the first kind of couple of weeks it happened. And then we went really quiet while everyone just freaked out, I think. And then now we're starting to get really busy again because a lot's changed. The government's brought out the JobKeeper scheme and made heaps of changes to the Fair Work Act. And all of this stuff is unprecedented. So it's pretty hard to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I know you've been keeping an eye on it because it does change continually, or has been changing continually, hasn't it?
It has. It changes sometimes on a daily basis. But look, Fair Work have been pretty good in updating their page and providing employers and business owners with heaps of information. Probably the biggest confusion is around JobKeeper. Like, no one really understands how it's going to work. Am I going to qualify? And then all of the JobKeeper enabled stuff that's been implemented into the Fair Work Act, whether or not employers or business owners can use that. That's probably the biggest area of confusion at the moment.
Okay, great. Are you going to be sharing some tips? I know you can't share everything today, but some tips around JobKeeper today and how it works with Fair Work?
Yes, we're going to be talking a little bit about that and just things to watch out for, because I think a lot of people are jumping the gun.
Okay. Oh, beautiful. So that'll be really good. Okay, our show's about to start. How to be fair, supportive, and abide by the law. Welcome, everybody. Today I have Emily Jacks, HR guru, with us today to talk about how to be fair, supportive, and abide by the law in terms of your looking after your employees and looking after your business at the same time. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Now, we just want to place everyone in the beginning that this is such a huge topic. Emily's going to be sharing as much as she possibly can on today's live, but she's also willing to have a chat about everyone's individual circumstances after the call. She's also got some great templates that she's going to be sharing with you at the end of the call as well as the live today. So we're not going to, we're going to be jumping straight in, getting into the nitty gritty. I know it's often not the most exciting topic, but it's really important, isn't it, Emily?
It sure is. It really is a hot topic at the moment.
Okay, excellent. So what we'd like to, we just covered the disclaimer. What would you like to say about what you're sharing, Emily?
So today I would like to give everyone some practical tips about what they can and can't do in this COVID-19 pandemic situation. I think that this is unprecedented. No one's been in this situation before. So there's an enormous amount of confusion out there. A lot of businesses are literally freaking out and doing things out of fear and doing things without having all of the information. And there's so many unknowns. So today what I'd like to do is talk about some of the most common questions we're getting asked, which is about things like leave, like what types of leave can I give my employees in this situation, the difference between standing down employees and shutting down your business and what you can and can't do. The other key area that a lot of people are wanting to get more information about is how to keep people engaged when they're working from home. You know, we've never had a situation where we've had so many people working from home, and so lots of businesses are struggling to cope in that new environment. And then I'm going to be talking about the JobKeeper scheme, which is obviously very confusing, and a lot of business owners are just wondering, what the hell does this mean for me? What can I do?
Excellent. So everyone, feel free to take notes. Feel free to shoot us some questions either through LinkedIn or Facebook. Carmen, my other half, will be jumping in with any LinkedIn questions as we proceed throughout today. Okay, so let's jump straight in. So what's your current view around what's going on at the moment in terms of what the government is doing?
Look, I think that we're very lucky in Australia that we have a government that is stepping in and providing so much support for businesses. I think a lot of business owners are feeling quite alone at the moment and a bit freaked out. But I think once all of these fiscal schemes start flowing through to businesses, they'll start realising that there is an enormous amount of support out there for them, both financially and just through the information that they're providing. I think a lot of employers jumped the gun and did some things early that they're maybe regretting now, like making people redundant before knowing whether they could get the JobKeeper allowance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. I think that some businesses are going to walk away from this in a much better position, and it's going to solidify them and their teams, and then others, they're going to be in a bit of a pickle.
Okay, great. Well, I feel like people on the call today are probably, or on the live today, are probably about to make decisions or pondering decisions. So let's jump into it, shall we? So
Sure.
let's cover the payment of employees and leave. So what are the key things that people need to know to make good decisions around the payment of their employees and their leave?
Obviously, this is a massive concern for a lot of business owners out there, particularly if they've been shut down by the government or they're having a business downturn, or they're impacted by COVID-19. So some of the really common questions we're getting asked is, if someone's required to self-isolate, either because they choose to or they have come into contact with someone with COVID-19, do I have to pay them? That's probably the number one question that we're getting asked daily. And the answer is that the Fair Work Commission has changed 100 leaves and included something called pandemic leave, which is unpaid. So employees can access that if they're required to self-isolate. Having said that, we recommend that if you can, allowing employees to use things like annual leave is a really good idea. Obviously, if you're having a business downturn, you can ask employees to take annual leave. At the moment, you can't direct them to take annual leave unless you qualify for the JobKeeper scheme, and nobody knows whether they're going to get that or not 100%. So I would say be very careful about directing employees to take annual leave. The other thing that you could ask employees to do if you don't have any work for them is to take annual leave on half pay. That is something that's allowed. The other thing is...
Can I just ask you something around that, Emily?
Sure.
When you say ask them to take it, does it mean that you're directing them to take it?
No, you're asking.
Choice is what I'm getting at.
Yes, so there's a very big difference between directing someone you have to take your annual leave and saying to them, can you take your annual leave? Would you be willing to take your annual leave? Because a lot of employees are actually quite frightened themselves and want to stay at home. So if there is an option for them to reduce their hours and do that, then they're quite happy to, is what we're finding.
Okay,
So yeah, like an example might be if somebody is deciding to self-isolate because they might have elderly parents, they might come to you and say, hey, I want to go on some leave because I don't want to be at work. For instance, they might work in a childcare centre and they know that they're kind of at risk. Childcare centres they're still open at the moment. And so they might say, can I take some leave? And you might say, look, you can take your annual leave on half pay until it runs out, and then you can access unpaid leave.
Yeah. So it sounds like, an ongoing communication with your employees is really important around this because they're very fearful as well.
Exactly. And my advice is before you do anything, you need to consult with your employees and get their agreement in writing. So another way that business owners are trying to reduce costs at the moment is asking employees to reduce their hours. And that is something that is totally okay, but you have to get agreement in writing until you qualify for the JobKeeper scheme. And then when that happens, you can do a whole bunch of other stuff. That includes directing someone to reduce their hours, but only once you qualify for the JobKeeper scheme. So it is really confusing, but the golden rule is you must consult. So you need to meet with your employees, tell them what's going on, why you want to make changes, and then you give them a document to vary their terms and conditions of employment. Otherwise, you could be in breach of contract.
Yeah. Now, I just want to touch on this with the JobKeeper. I know it's a little bit confusing, but why don't people know whether they can get it or not?
I think for some businesses, it's very clear that they'll be able to get it because they can demonstrate a 30% reduction in their turnover, if that's the qualification for them, because they were in the stage 1 and stage 2 restrictions. So it might be a restaurant, and they were restricted from trading, and they're only able to do, say, takeaway, and then they decided we actually can't do that because we do, really high-end gourmet meals, because no one's going to pay $200 to have a meal sent to their house. I don't know. I wouldn't do that. So they have a very clear case to say, yes, we qualify for JobKeeper. And so they will probably know, yes, we're going to tick the box. But for someone like, say, my business, we have definitely seen a downturn, but it's not 30% right now. It's probably going to be 30% next month. So it's very unclear about whether my business will qualify, because we don't actually know the rules around it and how they're going to be looking at the turnover. So I think that's what is really confusing, and businesses need to be really careful before they start implementing some of these JobKeeper-enabled directions that are now part of the Fair Work Act before they know they get it. Because if they do it now and they don't get it, they're going to be in hot water.
So it sounds like it's a matter of holding tight a bit around this until there's more clarity. Is that right?
Exactly. And also you need to get advice based on your individual circumstances, because if you don't, just the other thing that's really concerning is the way the government, like Scott Morrison, is using the terminology stand downs, because a stand down is very different to a shutdown or closing down your business. And the rules around standing employees down without pay are quite confusing. So you need to basically demonstrate 3 things, and they all need to be beyond your control. So the first one is a stoppage of work, and the employees can't be usefully employed. So what a lot of businesses don't know is you need to satisfy those 3 reasons. You can't just have one and not the other. So the example I gave before about the restaurant, say they could still work and they did have some work for some employees, then they may not be able to stand all of their employees down without pay. Because the difference between a stand down and a shutdown, or asking people to take annual leave, this is another really important thing to note, is that when employees are stood down, they are still employed and you still need to pay public holidays and they still accrue leave. So that's the difference.
Yeah, so what does stand down means? You haven't got your job for a while?
Correct. You're still employed. We don't have work. So Qantas, for example, they stood down heaps of employees because they were restricted by the government from operating. They couldn't fly.
Yeah.
And then Crown Casino is another one. They just stood down 11,500 people because they cannot operate. 80% of their business is restricted from operating. The gaming rooms are shut. So they can very clearly say, we have a stoppage of work. It's beyond our control. The government did it to us. We didn't decide to shut down this part of our business. And we can't usefully employ our people. We can't operate most of our services.
Okay, just a question on that. Just say I stand people down because I can't operate. I've got really good people that I don't want to lose. What? Just say they then. I've got a really good pilot who then goes off and decides to have a career change or wants to leave my employment. So what's the risks associated there?
The risks are you still have to pay them out all their entitlements when they leave. And with the new legislation and the changes to the Fair Work Act, there's something in there around employees can actually get agreement to work elsewhere whilst they're stood down, because a lot of employees actually have a clause in their contract that says that if they're on unpaid leave, say they went on maternity leave or something, they can't work for another company. But during these times, they can apply and say, hey, I need to get another job, and then I'll come back. But it is a risk.
So do you have the right to get them back? What if they go to the other job and then don't want to come back? They just have to go through the normal resignation process?
Correct, yeah. So the other thing to note is that if you stand people down and then in 6 weeks' time, you actually have to make them redundant, you have to make them redundant with like their last entitlements in place. So you can't go, oh, well, I stood you down and then I got you back to work for 3 days a week. So you were on 3 days a week. I'm going to pay you redundancy at 3 days.
Right. Yeah.
We've had questions about that as well, because some business owners are like, oh, cool, I'll reduce everyone's hours, and then when I make them redundant, because I know I'm going to go broke, I'm only going to have to pay them 3 days. But that's not how it works.
Okay, great. And what is a shutdown?
A shutdown is where you decide to close your business. Sorry, I've just got a tickle in my throat. Sorry.
Pretty bad, isn't it? During these times, you don't want to be coughing, Emily.
I'm just talking too much without taking a breath, and my throat has got very dry. So a shutdown is where you decide to shut your business, and that means that you can't not pay people. So, for example, say a childcare centre decided in the last couple of weeks, we're going to shut down because we don't have enough. Oh, my God. I don't have coronavirus. I promise.
This has been really informative because, there's so much ambiguity, and there's I would just think, oh, stand down, shut down, or aren't they the same, or aren't they similar? So it's really good that you're actually going, this is a stand down, and this is a shut down. So what was your example of the childcare centre?
Yeah, so a shutdown is, say a childcare centre lost all of their enrolments, say before they brought in all of that support for them, and they decided to shut down, they would actually lawfully have to pay their employees, because it's not a stand down where they cannot pay employees. So that is the difference, and that's where everyone was getting really confused. Another example of being able to stand down your employees, say the childcare centre, so I keep using this example because it's an easy one, they had a case of COVID-19 in their workplace, and they had to stand down all of their employees and get them to self-isolate. They would need to pay them.
Right, okay.
Because it's basically decided by them.
Yeah.
Unless there is a complexity there, unless there was a government direction that they had to shut down by the health department.
Okay, great. Now, Carmen, howdy. You've got some questions from LinkedIn for Emily.
Yes, so Kate Taylor, who's a recruitment ninja, she said, can someone get casual work while being stood down and still claim job keeper? So it's a bit of a minefield.
As far as I know, and this is all hypothetical because I don't think anyone knows unequivocally right now, I think that they can. So I have employees in my business who will be eligible for JobKeeper if we get it, and they can still have another job and work casually. And so they will just need to declare all of those earnings, and when it comes to tax time, because with JobKeeper you actually get taxed on that amount. So you don't get $1,500 in your pocket, you actually get taxed. And then typically the employer that you get the JobKeeper for would be your primary employer.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Great.
Well, thanks, Emily, and thanks, Kate Taylor, for asking the question. Keep the questions coming.
Okay, great. And Emily, I've just got some questions too. Firstly, welcome to Jeff Griffin. He said he's enjoying it, looking forward to learning more. And Melis Sanova as well. Thanks for putting this together. So lots of appreciation there. We've got a specific one for you. I'm going to read it exactly, Emily, from Craig Honey. I was asked to take annual leave when there was meaningful work. Then I replied that I wanted to save my leave in case of a shutdown. I was then stood down without pay until June 30. I then had to take my 3 weeks annual leave to keep money coming in. Isn't that instructing?
Yeah, that is a good question, and I wouldn't really like to give advice unless I could speak to you personally to find out all of the background, because I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's happened in there. I guess the question would be, did your business fall into the category to be able to stand people down without pay, i.e. were you in stage 1 and 2 restrictions? And obviously, when you are being stood down, you can take annual leave so that you can keep being paid. That is something that you're eligible to do. And with the JobKeeper enabled directions, you can direct an employee to take annual leave, but they need to be able to keep 2 weeks in the bank. I'm sorry, my voice is just completely...
That's okay. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for sharing that. If you'd like to talk to Emily after the live today, we're going to put her number up so you can have a chat. Because some of these are a little bit intricate, aren't they? You really need to know, the ins and outs of the situation for people. So
they always are.
Is how to keep your teams engaged. So this is not just about making sure you're doing the right thing by the law, but this session today is also about supporting teams. So can you share some top tips on keeping teams engaged, Emily?
Yeah, of course. So I think that the main thing right now is that people want certainty, and you are very au fait with this concept, Maureen. You taught it to me. So if you're not communicating with them and giving them as much information as possible, they're going to be in a state of fear, and then they're going to be, me before we, and that's not what you want. So it's really about communication, having a plan, and making people feel like you care about them. Because if they feel like you care about them, then they're going to feel safe, and that's what you want your employees to feel. In times like this, there's already enough fear out there. So the businesses who are doing this really well are meeting with their employees weekly. If they've got remote workers working at home, they're still doing check-ins every day. They're still doing team meetings online. They're using Zoom. They're doing weekly drinks, morning teas. I've seen companies giving employees care packages, so sending them home a little basket of goodies, little snacks and things like that. I saw one of our clients were having a weekly dance-off. So it's all these little things that add up to the sum of we care about you, we want you to feel included and engaged. And I really think that the way you treat people now is not going to be forgotten when this is all over. So if you treat them badly, then they're going to remember this forever. And if you treat them really well, then they're going to be really appreciative. And, think about the employee engagement, the loyalty that you're going to get at the end if you do the right thing and put your employees first and act like a community, not like, a sole trader. And I mean, I've seen examples, none of my clients, but I've been reading a lot of stuff around this about a hairdresser who, hairdressers are obviously impacted right now. They're still allowed to operate, but no one's getting their hair cut. I think I kind of need one, but anyway, I'm going to put it off. But this hairdresser has had a salon, and she had 5 people working for her, and obviously her clients decreased massively, and she just got rid of them all. And now she was kind of bragging in this Facebook group that I'm in, saying, I'm really busy. This is awesome. I'm going to make heaps of money out of this. I'm working 12 hours a day. And I just thought, what an idiot.
Yeah.
She
hasn't thought ahead, has she? Or thought about fairness and kindness.
No. And I think there's a lot of business owners out there who are in the same boat. Like, they could literally get rid of all of their teams and be really, really busy because they've got enough work for one person. But that's a really short-sighted, stupid approach to this, because there's enough for everybody, and the JobKeeper scheme is amazing. And some employees are going to win out of this. Like, I have employees in my business that don't earn because I've got a lot of consultants, don't earn $3,000 a month, and now I have an awesome opportunity to keep them on and get them to do non-billable work that I wouldn't have wanted them to do before, maybe because of cost. So I think that if businesses are smart, they're going to come out on top. And the other thing is just having the capacity to pivot and adapt to what's going on and keep your employees involved in that. Employees have great ideas, and if you ask them, what else could we do? What do our clients want? Then they're going to feel excited, motivated, rather than just keeping them in the dark and trying to do it all by yourself.
Yeah, and also just wanting to get on the certainty, and I'll jump in a minute with you, Carmen, that even when you're not really certain, to continue the communication and tell them you're not certain about the situation.
Exactly. And having a plan and telling your employees what the plan is they're the businesses that are doing really well.
Excellent. And Carmen, we've got a question.
Yeah. So Emily, we've got a question that links in with what you're just saying. You know how you said some of your employees don't work, forget what figure you said, but you're going to actually make it work in your favour. So Jess had a question. I believe you must pay employees at least $750 a week to qualify for JobKeeper. Does that apply for part-time workers who earn substantially less than $750 a week?
Yeah, so what it means is that for this month, by the end of April, so we've got 8 days, so 30 days in April, you need to pay your employees the full $3,000 a month, even if they don't earn that much. I know that's good. I can speak. Pardon?
What after April?
What about after April? Yes, you have to keep passing on the $3,000 a month or the $1,500 a fortnight. So the employees who don't earn that $3,000 a month, they're actually going to be better off. So it's a win for them. And I guess the thinking from the government is they want to stimulate the economy and they want to put some money into people's pockets so that they go out and spend it and get the economy going again.
Okay, great. So, Jeff, that sounds like it might be an interesting one for you. We've got another generalist question. Does all this depend on industry, or is it, an overall, an arching overall, one size fits all?
What part of it?
Well, any part of it. Does any question depend on industry, or is it really just get specific advice about your industry?
Yeah, I think that it does depend on industry in a way, because it depends what level of restrictions are in place for your business. So if there's no restrictions on business and you're just experiencing a downturn, there are certain things that you cannot implement right now. Like, you cannot direct employees to take annual leave. You cannot lawfully stand your employees down unless you fit all of those criteria in that you're a stoppage of work. So, it is very much business industry specific, and people should get advice before they do anything.
Okay, beautiful. Excellent. And then from Melis, we've got another question. If we're eligible for JobKeeper, what responsibilities do we have around leave, accrual, and super?
Yes, so this is a tricky one, and I'm not an expert in superannuation, but from what I've read, if you earn less than that, if that employee earns less than the $1,500, then you don't. Oh, hang on, I'm going to have to come back to that person on that. I don't want to give them the wrong advice. I do have that information, so I'm happy to email it to them.
Okay, beautiful. So, Melis, if you want to contact Emily after, feel free to get that info. Carmen, across to you.
All right, so we've got a couple of questions from LinkedIn. Kate, thanks for another question. So she said, so can we bump up the person's hours to match the $3,000?
That's a really good question, and I've been asked this many times. We are not 100% sure yet. We believe that you can ask that person to work additional hours, but you cannot force them to. But we don't have clarity on that yet. The legislation hasn't formally been released. So until then, that would be my answer.
All right, beautiful. And we've got a question from Mauro Rish. He does beautiful photography of hotels, and you can imagine that's been affected a little bit. So he said, can you renegotiate the hourly rates with the employee temporarily?
Is that if they would be getting JobKeeper?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's like an alternative strategy to try and reduce the costs overall.
I think that, yes, as long as you got their agreement in writing and you did a consultation process with them and told them why, then it would be a yes, but they'd have to agree to it. With the JobKeeper, you cannot reduce somebody's hourly rate. So we're seeing a lot of businesses that are saying to their employees, we need to reduce your hours in preparation for JobKeeper to the $1,500 a fortnight. You couldn't do that and then expect them to still work full time.
Yeah, beautiful. So that links in with Rachel's question, and she's got two. So she said, can companies ask their teams to take a 20% pay cut as a proactive measure, even before there's a proven decrease in turnover if they get agreement from this, or is this breach of contract? And then she's got a follow-up one which says, particularly without reducing hours. And she's talking about the IT industry that's paid way above any award. So thanks, Rachel. So what are your thoughts on that, Emily?
My answer would be yes, as long as you got their agreement. So my advice would be hold a meeting, like a town hall meeting with all your employees. Say, this is where we're at. This is what we're planning on doing. We'd love to get your input. We'll be giving you something in writing to implement this. And then if anyone's got any individual concerns, you can come and speak to us.
All right, beautiful. Thanks for all the amazing questions, everyone.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, great. And we've talked about how to keep a team engaged. And our next topic is, does a business downturn enable stand downs? Can you clarify this for us, please, Emily?
Sure. I think I've spoken about this a little bit already, but the answer is no. So Fair Work have come out and said that a business downturn does not constitute grounds to stand down your employees without pay. So I think that employers and business owners need to be really careful before standing down their employees on unpaid leave unless they have their agreement or they've gone through a consultation process, and that they can really demonstrate that they can meet those three criteria. And there are situations where the business downturn may be in line with some of those areas, but not all of them. So we've got some examples up there on the slide that would constitute being able to stand people down. So if there was an enforceable government direction requiring the business to close. So that could be that a business office has a case of COVID-19 and one of the employees has tested positive, then you might be able to stand down all of the other employees because they've been into contact with that person.
Yeah. Okay, great. So now in terms of the most common question that you think you get asked that we may not have covered yet, is there another doozy that, you know, it might be just a simple one or something that people just ask you quite a bit?
I think the leave questions are a little bit tricky, and I get lots of questions about that. So like another question is, if somebody is required to self-isolate because they have been in contact, can I give them personal leave? And the answer is no, personal leave is not for that situation. Personal leave is for people who are sick because they are sick or because they have COVID-19 or they have to care for somebody who is sick or has COVID-19. So I think that, yeah, there's some real doozies there around what leave can I let people access. The other one is, can I let people access their long service leave early? And the answer is yes, but it depends on what state you're in. So in Victoria, which I'm assuming most of these people are probably in Victoria, you can allow them to access it at 7 years. So that's another question that a lot of business owners are grappling with at the moment. Well, I've got people that we've closed down the business. It's not a stand down, it's a close down. How can I continue to pay my people?
Yeah.
And long service leave and annual leave at half pay are really good options.
Okay, great.
One more question that I get asked is if we stand people down, what happens if they resign? And the question is that you still need to pay them out all of their entitlements. And even, I think I spoke about it before, in 4 weeks' time, if you make them redundant, you still need to pay them their entitlements as at their last day of work, even the period that they were stood down.
Yeah. Okay, great. So thank you for all those insights. So if people want to contact you for their specific industry situation or specific to their industry or their particular circumstances, how can they do that?
Sure. So we have obviously our phone number there or our website, hrgurus.com.au. We've also got a membership product that we have available, and we're offering 6 months free at the moment to try and give back to the business community. We know that a lot of businesses are doing it tough, and that is a live, a Facebook group where we do Facebook Lives and provide lots of free info. But we've also got a special offer today that we'd like to put out there. We've created a COVID-19 pack for employers. So we've included everything that we're getting asked about, all the templates that you might need to use. So there's 9 templates included, including a 26-page employer guide that's got heaps of JobKeeper stuff, how to apply. There's templates because you have to get your employees to sign up to agree to be a part of the JobKeeper scheme with you, and there's all the information around that. There's stand-down letters, there's policies in there as well. And so we're essentially giving people $400 off, and there's a discount code, FB Live, and people can access that on our website. So it's hrgurus.com.au and then /COVID-19 pack.
Great. And so what are the benefits of having those at your fingertips?
Well, if you need to get a lawyer to write things like these letters, it can cost thousands of dollars. So it's really a one-stop shop that gives you every template that you need, all the policies that you need to manage COVID-19, and a guide which explains how to do it. So I just think it makes it really simple, which is basically our philosophy at HR Gurus. We want to make things simple because it's pretty bloody confusing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's, even if you think what you want to say, it's really hard to write it up and make sure you're, dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
Exactly.
Excellent. So thanks for sharing all of that. We've also got our Facebook group, Maureen and Carmen, Calling All Movers and Shakers, if you want to join us there. Because I know a few people on the live today are in the group, so I'm sure if you write any questions there as well, Emily will be happy to answer your questions. So you've got the pack that has all the things you need, all the documentation there at your fingertips that you can access, and then instructions on how to use them well. So that's only $1.99 today. So check that out. And also Emily's 6-month free membership, which you can check out on her website. And if you want to join the after party, as we say, facebook.com groups /Maureen and Carmen, where this, if you want to watch this again as well, the live, if you missed anything or want to have a look at the slides again or whatever, that will be posted there. So thanks, Emily. It's been great talking to you. And what would be your last encouraging parting words to all the employers out there?
I think that business owners need to get all of the information before they make really big decisions. And you're not alone, that there is a lot of support out there, and just wait until you know what government support you're going to get before you terminate people or make people redundant, because look, we're coming out of this now, so you want to be, pardon?
Hang in there.
Hang in there. That's it. And yeah, obviously we're here to support you, and yeah, just take a breath.
Excellent. Thanks, Emily. Absolute legend. Thanks.
Thank you.
And see you, everybody, at the after party at Maureen and Carmen. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.